Hey guys, so today I have swatches of the China Glaze Shades of Nude collection. So there are 12 polishes here altogether in different shades of nude, ranging from light to dark. So some of these look pretty similar in the bottle, but some of them are more jelly, some of them are more cream. I feel like it was kind of a good mix. When I first got these in the mail, I looked at these and I was like, there did not need to be 12 of these. But as I swatched them, I kind of realized like you get this color in 2 different finishes or something similar colors in 2 different finishes. I don't know. I like it. I'm digging it. 12 polishes in this collection, and I will get into the swatches. So the first polish is called Bourgeois Beige, and this is a very light beigey nude. So here is one coat. So this one is a bit streaky on that first coat, but it actually does cover pretty well for being such a light color. And great formula on this one as well. It doesn't want to run or pool anywhere. So here is 2 coats. And 2 coats does cover completely on this one. I do feel like it's right on the edge though. If you're a bit heavy-handed or you just apply polish differently in general, you might end up needing 3 because you could have a few streaks left, but even then they might be minor. It really is just going to depend on your application and your preference. So there is 2 coats of Bourgeois Beige. So the next polish is called Pixelated, and I do want to show this next to Bourgeois Beige because a lot of the polishes in here are very, very close, just have a little bit different of a tone, so Pixelated is a little bit more on the pink side. So here is 1 coat. So for being such a light color, this one also covers pretty well on that first coat, but is still a bit streaky. I do think this one might be a touch more sheer than the last one, but not much. Great formula, just like the last one. Stays where you put it. It doesn't run or pool anywhere. So here is 2 coats. This is another one that's going to cover in 2 for me, but it is very, very close. Could easily see you needing 3 just depending on your application. It's probably one that I couldn't even put on and need the same number of coats every single time I wear it. So there is 2 coats of Pixelated. So the next polish is called Minimalist Momma, and this is just getting slightly darker, lighter still, a beige color. This is it next to Pixelated, so you can kind of see how slowly they're transitioning into darker shades. You can also see the little air bubble there. This is a really good, I'm going to totally go off subject here, but this is a really good way to tell if you're dealing with a sheer polish or a more opaque polish. Pixelated here, you can kind of barely make out the ring where the little bubble is, the air bubble, but on Minimalist Momma, it's very, very obvious because Minimalist Momma is going to be a little bit more of a sheer, kind of jelly-ish polish. So if you're in the store and you're shopping for polish, you can kind of tell which ones are going to be more opaque than others just by looking in the bottle. You can also flip them to the side and kind of look up at the bottle and see how much of the mixing bead you can see. Because the more of the mixing bead you can see, the more sheer the polish is going to be. So here is 1 coat. So you can see this one is very sheer, definitely more of a nude jelly. It is a little bit uneven still. I'm hoping that will even out as I add more coats. The formula is pretty good on this one too. It does feel like it would run a little bit if you do a really thick coat, but I don't think it's going to be a huge problem. So here is 2 coats. And this is building up actually better than I thought it would on the second coat, and it is evening out as well. You could easily leave it this way with 2 coats, but I'm going to add that third just to show how opaque it can get, even though there is very little nail line showing. And this one also dries very shiny as well. So here is 3 coats. After looking at the second coat once it was dried, I do think you'd probably want a third. There is still a few uneven spots that are pretty noticeable on the second coat, and that third coat will just help smooth those out. But I'm also pretty picky, so it's going to depend on the person. So that is 3 coats of Minimalist Momma. So the next polish is called It's a Match, and this is a little bit more of a peachy nude. So here is 1 coat. You can see this one definitely has more of a cream finish than the last one. It is still a bit streaky on that first coat. Great formula on this one as well. So here is 2 coats. And this actually covers pretty well on that second coat. Obviously it's going to depend on your preference. I think I might add a third. It's hard to tell on camera, but I do still have some dark spots that are just a little bit too much for me. But I don't think everyone is going to need a third coat. I might not even do a third coat. Now that it's settling, those seem to be going away. I'm going to call this good on 2. I do think it is very much going to depend on your preference. It is right on the edge between 2 and 3, but that is 2 coats of It's a Match. The next polish is called Fresher Than My Clique, and this is kind of a sandy, taupey color, somewhere in between the two. So here is 1 coat, and this covers very well on that first coat. It is still a bit streaky, but it does cover really nicely. This might even be one that once you've used it a few times and it thickens up a little bit, it could be pushing 1 coater status. So here is 2 coats, and this one easily covers in 2, covers really well. So that is 2 coats of Fresher Than My Clique. The next polish is called To Selfie, and this is kind of a pinky nude color. So here is 1 coat. And this one is a little bit sheer and a little bit streaky on the first coat, a little bit more than most of the other creams have been so far in the collection. Good formula on this one too. So far none of these have really been thick or thin. So here's 2 coats. And this one does cover completely in 2. I'm doing a bit of a thicker second coat though, so you might end up needing 3 depending on your application, since mine is all over the place today. I did notice that on the first coat, those few streaks that I had did really nicely level themselves out as it dried. They settled really well. They didn't settle away completely, but they were minimalized quite a bit. So that is 2 coats of To Selfie. The next polish is called Don't Make Me Blush, and this is a soft, kind of medium light pink. So here is 1 coat. So this one is a little bit more of a jelly-ish finish. It's definitely not as sheer as Minimalist Momma was, but it does have more of a squishy appearance to it. The formula on this one is pretty good. It does want to run down the sides of the nail a little bit if I put too much on though, so I'm trying to thin this one out anyway. I did a little too much on these 2. So here is 2 coats. So this one actually covers really well on that second coat. I wasn't sure if I was going to end up needing a third this time around with this one or not, but it actually looks pretty good on 2. And even when it's completely opaque, it does still kind of have that squishy-ish look to it. That is 2 coats of Don't Make Me Blush. The next polish is called a Whole Latte Fun, and this is kind of a slightly orangey nude. Maybe it's nicer to say like a caramely color. When I have this many nudes, it is difficult for me to start describing them all differently, even though they do all look different. And you can kind of tell by that little bubble there that this one is going to be more of a sheer jelly-ish polish. So here is 1 coat. And this one is sheer on that first coat, but for being sheer, it does look like it's going to cover really evenly, which is the best possible situation with a sheer polish, because then you have the option to do 1, 2, or 3 coats without having to cover up streaks. So it makes it a lot more versatile of a polish. And the formula is pretty good on this one. You do want to be careful not to do too thick of a coat because it is a little more jelly-ish, a little more sheer. It will run a little bit. So here is 2 coats. So this is starting to build up. It is covering, like I said before, surprisingly even for being more of a sheer polish. I can still see my nail line. Depending on your preference, you could leave it at 2 or even just do 1 coat if you really wanted to. I'm going to do 3 just for the video so you can see how it builds up. So here is 3 coats. And 3 coats does cover up the rest of that nail line. And this one also dries very shiny because it is more of a jelly finish. I do think if I was going to wear this outside of video purposes, I probably would only do 2 coats though. So that is 3 coats of a Whole Latte Fun. So the next polish is called Kill the Lights, and this is a kind of a rosy pink color. So here is 1 coat. So this is another one that's kind of right between cream and jelly. It's definitely more opaque than the jelly-ish colors, but it's not quite as opaque as the creams either. Great formula on this one. So here is 2 coats. And this one does cover completely in 2. And it actually does darken the color a bit more than I expected as well. This one also dries very shiny, again, because of that little bit of a jelly property that it has. So that is 2 coats of Kill the Lights. The next polish is called Head to Taupe, and this is a taupe color. So here is 1 coat. This is another one that's kind of the middle ground between the really sheer jelly ones and the more opaque cream ones. It covers really well, just a little bit uneven, so it will need that second coat. And great formula on this one as well. So here is 2 coats. And this one does cover completely in 2. I did think that it was really close to 1 coat, but after that first coat dried completely, it definitely looks a little bit more sheer than it did when it was wet. And this one is also very shiny, again, because of that finish. Slightly more squishy finish. So that is 2 coats of Head to Taupe. The next polish is called Bear Attack, and this is kind of like a brown sugar looking color. So here is 1 coat. And this actually covers really well on that first coat. It's actually looks like it could be really close to a 1-coater. I don't think it is right now, but it definitely will be after it's been used a few times. Actually, some people might just be able to get away with it as 1 coat now, but I'm going to do a second anyway. Great formula on this one as well. So here is 2 coats. After looking at this when the first coat was dry, I think a lot of people could get away with this in 1, just depending on how picky you are. That second coat does seem to change the color a bit too. I'm assuming it will dry to more of what my pinky finger looks like. So that is 2 coats of Bear Attack. And the last polish is called Give Me S'more, and this is a warm chocolate color. So here is 1 coat. So this one is more of that jelly finish, so it is going to take a couple coats to build up to the color that's in the bottle. And it is a little bit uneven on that first coat. Good formula on this one. It's another one you do want to do a little bit thinner of coats with, so you don't end up having polish run down the sides of your nail and pool there. So here's 2 coats. So even though this is more of a jelly-ish polish, it's also a darker color, so it does cover completely in 2. I guess it's possible that you could need a 3rd coat, but I really don't think so. It does have that shiny finish and that slightly squishy look. The darker the jelly polish gets, the less you're going to have that squishy look to it, but it's still there a little bit with this one. So that is 2 coats of Give Me S'more. So I think Kill the Lights is going to be my favorite of this one. I really like rosy pinks. I like that this is a little bit darker of a rosy pink. It is kind of like one of those like old lady kind of darker pink colors, but I actually really like those on my skin tone, so that is my favorite. So that is the China Glaze Shades of Nude collection. If I didn't mention, I got those from sparklecanada.com as well. I tend to always find new collections there before I can find them anywhere else. So hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later. Bye.